작은 것 같아. 너만 준비돼 있다면.
Welcome to Sex at 10. I'm Rebecca Rosenblat, certified relationship and sexuality therapist and your host, here to answer questions on all things intimate. Whether you're stuck in a relationship dilemma, have issues with your body, trust, trauma, addiction, or orientation, or just need a little help with turning up the heat in your bedroom, give us a shout at 1-800-968-7836 and let's chat. Everything's fair game. If you've thought about it, we can talk about it. Last week, we discussed sexual confidence and negotiating healthy sexual habits. This week, we'd like to build upon that by getting into the nitty-gritties of why sex is so important to a marriage. We'll be joined by a guest very soon, but I just wanted to say, in my private practice, I have many people that come in who've let sex slip by the wayside. So I'm really glad that we'll be discussing this tonight. And to help me, we're being joined by an expert in the area, Arianna Jeret. Arianna is a mediator, relationship and divorce expert, and a contributing editor for YourTango.com. Based on her background as a social worker and her experience in mediating divorces and coaching both men and women, she strategically guides her clients through their critical life decisions before, during, and after divorce. Needless to say, she's had a front row seat to what makes marriages work or fail for years. So we're thrilled to have her joining us tonight to discuss one of those very crucial aspects of marriage. Good evening and welcome to Sex at 10.
Hi, Rebecca. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Arianna, we live in a world with lots of mixed messages. For instance, women are expected to look good, but then referred to as vain when they try. We need money for the most basic necessities, yet those who pursue it are seen as shallow. And then there's sex, a class unto itself, used to sell everything but a dirty word in its own right, and not to mention minimized by many, even though it's the glue that holds a marriage together. As such, I'm really excited that tonight we'll be tackling that head on, since you and I both know what happens to sex-starved relationships. So perhaps you could begin our discussion by sharing some statistics with us before we get into the 7 specific points that you want to focus on tonight.
Well, I think it's important to look at some of the divorce statistics that people misquote. People say that the divorce rate is around 44%, 50%, but it's actually 44% and dropping. And the rate of marriage is dropping as well, but those people who are getting married are staying married longer. That said, 2/3 of all divorces are initiated by women. So it's very important for the men, because the women don't tend to always talk about it beforehand, to really stay in touch.
And women are the emotional gatekeepers of the relationship, so they generally start to pick up the vibe that something is wrong. And in my practice, I find many of them will sort of start to approach their partner, something's off, something's not right, and the partner just kind of can be often dismissive. Not all partners, but many partners can be dismissive and sort of push it aside and say, you're driving me crazy, everything's fine, there's no problem. Before they know it, she's filing for divorce, and he looks shocked and surprised. Where did this come from? Do you find that as well?
Absolutely. They don't tend to see it coming at all.
Yeah. Let's get into those points now, starting with gaining an insight into why.
Into why it is that men are. So, I think that what happens is that people just get caught up in their own lives, and they don't really consider how important this is to marriage, because marriage is supposed to be so much more than just sex, and it is, but that doesn't mean that the sex isn't incredibly important. And you're supposed to be married to this person and have that be the only person you're going to have sex with again for the rest of your life. So if it becomes a sexless marriage, that's a really long time you're talking about going without a basic human need.
And it's a really serious problem. People don't realize it. And another thing that I find quite puzzling in my private practice is that the very people who expect their partner to be absolutely monogamous aren't willing to do their part to keep monogamy going and, in fact, keep it exciting. So that's even more puzzling. Viewers, if you're in a sexless marriage, tonight's a great night to call in and discuss your issues with us. Arianna, as a psychotherapist, I often hear men say, I'm really unhappy with their sex life. And when I ask them what they've done to address that with their partner, they often respond by saying, nothing. I won't hear the end of it if I say anything to her. So can you please discuss the importance of speaking about our own desires versus allowing resentments to build up, or worse, when we try to spare our partner's feelings?
Absolutely. I think men are they're raised to be nice to women and to be kind to women and respect them, and they should. But then what that translates into is that they try not to hurt their wife's feelings. That's the worst thing they could possibly do. So even though that's coming from an incredibly noble, valiant place, what they're doing is they're also breaking the trust of the marriage by not sharing their feelings. And when they make excuses and they come up with other reasons for not wanting to have sex with their wives other than what they're really feeling, their wives know that something doesn't match up, and they start to resent the lack of sex. They start to become suspicious about what might else be going on in the husband's life outside of the home. And they start to imagine all kinds of circumstances that are nothing compared to what you might actually share with her.
What an important point, because it's true. Whatever she's thinking in her head is likely significantly worse than what's actually going on. Do you think part of it is because when it comes to men, men are always sort of viewed as horn dogs who want it all the time. So when they bring up sex, there's some kind of a stereotype or negative connotation, even though women want it every bit as much. Do you think it has something to do with that?
Well, you know, there's so much talk about the whole Madonna whore complex. And so women come into the marriage just as much as men may or may not have that going on. Women assume that their husbands are going to have that on and start to project it at times and fear, well, maybe he's not interested in me anymore because I'm his wife. Instead of really just sitting down and having a talk, what's really going on, what's missing?
That's, again, a very important point, to have that talk, because lots of women are shocked that 7 to 12% of guys can take it or leave it, and 7% would rather leave it because they're on a bell curve just like us. Some don't want it very much. Most want a couple of times a week. Some want it a lot. So they're quite surprised, because maybe in the beginning, when we were stoned on those feel-good hormones that Mother Nature douses us with to mate, everybody's got a huge appetite. But when we go to baseline, lots of times women don't realize that maybe their male partner has a lower baseline than they do. And you're right, that's when people start to have doubts. If you're not getting it from me, where are you getting it from? So really good point to be able to talk about it. Viewers, if you found yourself in that boat, afraid to say anything to your partner for fear of hurting their ego or fear of them attacking you, tonight's a great night to call in to get some expert advice on tackling just that. Don't be shy. This could be crucial to saving your marriage. Arianna, another reason people struggle to ask for what they want is because they're not sure what that is. So can you please discuss the importance of figuring out our own sexual preferences next?
Yeah, we've been raised to think that fetishes or any kind of behavior outside of the normal, basic missionary position are somehow perverted or wrong or only for people in porn and magazines. And so there might be underlying fantasies that they've had their whole life that they've never really allowed themselves to think through. And now, we're becoming more open as a society, and there are things that you can see on the internet all the time, and curiosity gets sparked. But then, we're not fully exploring it individually or as a couple because there's so much shame that we're still raised on around sex.
A really important point, the shame. And the interesting thing is that when it comes to fetishes and fantasies, most of them develop when we're 5 to 8, maybe 10 years of age, because that's when our erotic template develops. So depending upon whatever was going on is practically imprinted on us. And it's almost like your favorite flavor. If somebody tells you, no, 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 that's wrong, it's not going to stop being your favorite flavor. If you want it, you crave it, it's always going to be there whether you're talking about it or not. Can you maybe just quickly mention a way of perhaps, talking to our partner about some of those fetishes or kink that we might be interested in? Can you maybe comment on how to do that effectively?
I think that one great way, I think the invention of texting has done wonderful things for sharing fantasies, because it can be really uncomfortable to sit face-to-face and share things. But I think if you say, I want to start playing, every once in a while during the day and send you something I'm thinking about for later, and start, with something on the less risque scale, because there's a wide spectrum even within fetishes.
Right.
And send something and see what kind of a response you get, and start to play, and really, have a conversation first where you say, I want us to be more playful.
Right. And
I want us to enjoy each other.
Absolutely. Enjoy each other and, go from mild to wild. And I think it's important to let our partner know that we're looking to add spice, because sometimes partners can be sensitive. Don't you like what we're doing? Or where did you get that idea? So I like the idea of sexting and suggesting it. Sometimes I also have couples who are feeling a little uncomfortable, uptight. I have them write a little passage of erotica where they're the stars. And it's amazing what comes up, because the onus is off them. I said, just pretend you're writing about someone else, but literally you're the star, and a lot of stuff comes out that way too, so that's a lot of fun. So great ideas. Viewers, if you're struggling with orientation issues, sexual preferences, kink, fetishistic desires, or other things which have caused you discomfort, grab that phone right now to get some expert opinion advice. Now, on the flip side of not wanting to hurt our partner's feelings is the ability to receive suggestions and requests ourselves without feeling hurt or criticized. So can we please discuss that next? Because to me, a sexless marriage can be more fragile than a sexless ego.
Absolutely. And for both men and women, you never want to hear that what you're doing is wrong, or that what you've been doing has been bad or a turnoff. But at the same time, you need to be able to hear what should be changed, or what you could do better or try differently. So if you both started out, and that's why it's very important to have the conversation as mutual, and say, the person who's starting, I truly want to know what I could be doing differently, what you would love, what you would like me to stop. And we're just going to brainstorm in a pure stream of consciousness way, and nothing one of us throws out there can be wrong, and release both of you from ever potentially being wrong. It doesn't mean you have to both accept what the other one says is something you want to do.
But to put it out there.
You put it out there, and if you don't like it, let me know.
Right.
But if you do, we'll have said something we never would have thought to, because we were worried about being judged.
What a great idea, because I think that's, at the end of the day, if we make each other feel safe and there's no judgment and there's no shame, then we can pretty much put anything out there. And I always say to people, even if it feels, something that you might not go for, instead of saying, you want me to do what? Or, ew, or where did you come up with that? Just say, think about it. Say, maybe I'm not quite comfortable with that just yet, but how about such and such? And just throw out another idea. So I like the theme that you have of talking openly and putting things out there, not being judgmental and not bringing shame to the bedroom. Viewers, if you have any sexual struggles whatsoever, grab that phone right now to chat with the experts. Arianna, the best way to be intimate is when we feel safe enough to be exposed in every single way, something that can only happen if there are no secrets between us, creating any kind of a harmful veil. So can you please discuss the importance of no secrets next?
Yeah, I don't really believe in the lying by omission. But just because you're not lying doesn't mean that you're not concealing. And the whole goal here is to create safety and create a space where you can talk about anything. So if you've been hiding pieces of you, and then, even small things, you don't want to tell her that you went out to lunch with the guys because you don't want her to see the bill. And then she sees the bill anyhow and thinks you have a mistress.
Right. Because why would you keep it from me?
That's the beginning. Our minds go so much farther than we should.
Right. So you're right, if you're talking even about those little things, and it's amazing sometimes the stuff that people hide, there's absolutely no need for it, but people hide trivial things. And I have so many partners, males and females, who will say, well, if he or she is lying to me about the little stuff, what else are they lying to me about? So really important point. Viewers, if you have secrets in your marriage, or if you're confused about the difference between privacy and secrecy, call us so we can clarify things for you. Arianna, in as much as I love rom-coms, often they depict relationships as a wild bed of passion, your words. Anything short of that is seen as troubled or inadequate. But that viewpoint is as real as the fairy tales that we grow up on, which brainwashed us just as effectively in our formative years, no less. So can you stick around? Because I'd like us to talk a little bit more about breaking those myths and painting more of a realistic picture for us with respect to what that actually looks like. So are you able to stay with us for just a little bit longer after the break, Arianna?
I am. I'd love to.
Thank you, because I don't want to rush off. We'll be right back. Keep your calls coming, and let's discuss sex, relationships, romance, or whatever else rocks your boat. And keep it locked on Rogers TV, because we have lots more great stuff still ahead, including your calls. So pick up that phone and call so we can connect.